This was an opportunity for me to grow. This is a time for you to grow. Take the time to motivate yourself and break out of your shell. You can start doing this now by listening to this episode.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Doctor Jarret Patton.
Welcome to Licensed to Live. My name is Doctor Jarret Patton, and I am your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you know anyone who has been dissed in their career, please invite them along this journey. Just go to anywhere you subscribe to podcasts. In fact, I'm on Amazon Music right now. You may even be able to tell Alexa to play me and subscribe to Licensed to Live. You guys know what I mean by diss. It can be disgruntled, disenfranchised, dissatisfied. You name it, we have felt it. Today, we are going to be talking about the License to Live conference. It was a fantastic event, and I want to make sure that all of you guys get the recap, understand what it was about, and what you have to gain. So take a listen, and we'll get right to it right after a word from our sponsor. Emmett Hayes III Coffee Company, EH3, specializes in selecting 100% Arabica coffee beans from distinct coffee growing regions across the globe. EH3 Coffee Company offers an exclusive brand of organic coffee beans and blends. All coffee products are craft roasted to perfection, which yields consistency and quality, taste, and optimal flavor. EH3's quest is to create an evolutionary coffee experience for every single customer, every single time. Get your coffee today at emmitscoffee.com. That's EMMITTSCOFFEE.com. Welcome back. All you fire starters out there, I am happy that you've tuned in today to this episode, particularly because, well, I have a story to tell. Back in July of 2020, we actually had our first conference, License to Live, the conference. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about the conference and what it is about. And I know a lot of you guys saw it come and go and have been asking me, well, how can I see it? I want to check it out. Well, we'll make sure we get that to happen. But before we get that, I just want to tell you about some things on my own journey and things that I grew just going through the process, because people often ask me, what makes you want to do a conference? And I have spent so many hours and days and weeks and months on the road speaking at other people's conferences, their events, their colleges, their churches, their corporations, you name it. I have been there. And I said, all this time, I have not had my own event. And quite frankly, I had a fear of starting my own event. I mean, when I first thought of this idea, it was in the middle of the pandemic on the East Coast. It was getting really hot and heavy. people were literally locked down, and I still wanted to communicate a message. And I said, well, maybe I could do a conference. But then, you start getting in your own way of things. And I had a fear of breaking through to do something new. Said, well, I don't host events. I attend them. I MC them. I speak at them. I don't host them. And I was kind of dragging my feet at the idea. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, you guys know I still actively get involved in coaching myself. I have several coaches, and I continue to work on myself daily and push myself to achieve next goals. And I was afraid. I was afraid of putting on a conference. Yes, I said it. I'm telling you guys right now that I was afraid. And I said, well, I'll put it on the calendar and make it happen. But weeks went by and I didn't even take action on this idea because it seemed too big for me. Then I had to go back and think about other things that seemed too big for me in my life. And I thought about, well, when I wrote my first book, Licensed to Live, A Perimeter Rebuilding Your Life After Your Career is Shattered, I thought that was a huge accomplishment. And I thought it was something I would never do. I thought it was something I was never qualified to do, but I had to break through it. By the time I wrote my second book, it wasn't a big deal. I've written a book before, and by the third and fourth and so on, it was no big deal. It's just a part of what I do. Being an author is part of what I do. However, being a conference planner, being an organizer, well, that's not what I'm used to doing. I'm actually used to doing something that I say, I hop on a plane, show up in a city, talk, engage, and leave. So I decided the only way I was going to get this done is start the lineup and start thinking about the messages I wanted to convey. And I'll get to the messages soon, but I just wanted to let you know that I was afraid of doing something new. And this is something that happens to us all the time, and we have to realize it. Otherwise, we get in our own way. So I decided to ask one of the first people I thought about who would be speaking at my event. And I said, hey, are you available on July 25th? Could you speak for an hour at my event? This is what it's about. Absolutely, yes. Boom, a big gulp. I was like, uh-oh, this is becoming real now. I had waited, I had thought about it, and now I actually asked somebody to block off their calendar to speak at this event. And that was my motivation. From there, I started getting the rest of the lineup together, and people had availability in their calendars because, well, most speakers aren't traveling. They're not going to live events, so they can do a virtual event. And that is what made me start burning rubber. I said, okay, now let's get the team together. This is going to happen. We have some speakers. Let's do it. And it was something new for me. And it was an amazing experience planning this conference, getting the messaging together, all the details involved in pulling it off. And it really went well without a hitch. But I had to get myself ready and my mind ready to do something new, do something different. So I'm encouraging all of you to do something new, do something different. It feels like a really big challenge, but at the end of the day, it is something that you can achieve. And once you do it once, well, you guys know, we've talked about this before, whether you're a medical student or resident, physician in practice. Well, you know the old adage that we say, see one, do one, teach one. And I kind of use that approach. I had seen many. I've attended many. I've spoken at many conferences. So I said, it's time for me to do one. And eventually I'll teach people how to do it. But all right, I'll get some more experience. And guess what? We're already planning the event for 2021. So more details on that to come. But let me tell you what you missed in this conference, because this conference truly was an incredible success. We had a fantastic lineup of nationally renowned speakers, some of which are internationally renowned, and we'll get into the details, but it was a complete success. All the little glitches and things that I thought would be big hangups or big disasters, or people wouldn't even show up, people wouldn't buy tickets, people wouldn't come out. All of that were stories I was telling in my mind. So you know what I did? I reached out for my own book. Yes, Licensed to Live, Daily Affirmations to Rebuild Your Life. And there were a few of my favorite ones yes, I had to practice and tell myself to, so that I could achieve and keep it moving. So I was happy, very happy to do that. And it pushed me through barriers. And now I'm ready to do the next event. And not only that, I'll probably do some events in my other brands as well. And hey, I'm excited. I'm happy about this. And I wanted to share that with you. So this conference really was a great success. People have given me lots of feedback after it. They've been telling me some of the things that they've been doing. It has been incredible. And hey, I'm happy about it. And I hope that some of the knowledge that came from this conference will inspire you to achieve some things. So we set up the conference in a way that we looked at a few different principles, and we'll go through each of them. And number one, first and foremost, and this is the way we kicked off the conference, is taking care of yourself. We must take care of ourselves. Yes, we must do that. It seems so simple, but it's so hard to do because by default, we're taking care of so many other people, whether it's our patients or our clients. Perhaps it is our families. Perhaps it is another loved one or a friend. We are taking care of people all the time, including our children. And that becomes a challenge because we take care of others at the expense of ourselves. So we wanted to make sure that right off, first and foremost, we were taking care of ourselves. And we brought in two excellent speakers to talk about this. We had naturopathic physician, Dr. Sam Price. She's an internationally renowned naturopath, and she actually hosts her own international events called The Vital Experience. So she has another one set up, and they're always in some fabulous country. You have to check that out. But she started with the basics of things like hydration, things we don't think about. And not only just, okay, drink your 8 cups of water a day, which she didn't even say actually, because this is like on new science and new hydration and new things you should be doing to optimize your hydration. But we're talking about some basic things, including sleep. She talked about sleep and a lot of the misconceptions that we have about sleep and getting our own sleep. And one of the most highest rated conversation pieces was when she really dug into feng shui. And by doing that, it piqued a lot of people's interest and wanted to set up their homes in a manner to get their energy right. And you need to do that because you're not going to be good for anyone else. The next speaker was Dr. Brad Ballard, and he really helped us understand our purpose and saying our purpose in life can go alongside our career. It could be different than our career, but at the end of the day, you can have happiness and success and fulfillment within life and career. So it doesn't have to be a choice, one or the other. It all can go in together. And he had us hyped up talking about some great things and some actionable things that you can do to get this started in your own life. The second principle within the conference, Licensed to Live the conference. In fact, you can go to licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com. You can get access to the replay right now. And if you put in the code podcast, you will save $50 off of that registration. So you actually see this for an unbelievable price, this replay. So make sure you go to licensedtolive.com right now and check it out. But the second part that we really wanted to talk about is building ourselves up. If we have the foundation blocks, if you're thinking about the Maslow's pyramid, you're thinking about the basics at the bottom, and that's taking care of ourselves. And we wanted to make sure we were starting on a good foundation. But the second level of this is really building your own voice, because sometimes our voices are silenced or they're muted or they're diminished because, well, our voice is being spread over all different types of things, maybe even speaking on behalf of a corporation that you work for. And we don't spend enough time building our own voices. And it was in this time, I guarantee you, there were people who were inspired by this block of the conference because they took action immediately. And within 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, most out of the conference, people were giving me some some feedback, and I'll get into that in a moment. But we talked about several different things and ways that you can build your own voice. And we started with filmmaker Dr. Central Crawford, who is a psychiatrist by trade, but moved just and tried to get into Hollywood and doing her thing. And she actually made her first film called Us versus the Plant. And she talked about her own harrowing experience through medicine and had some perils and pitfalls along her way and even in her own career. But it led her to spread her voice and her message in an entirely different way that, well, most of us don't think about in medical school. Yes, film. We had Dr. Nee Darko, host of Docs Outside the Box podcast, a great show, and we're going to have to get him on License to Live at some point. But Dr. Nee Darko inspired people to say, hey, look, you can use your voice all the time, doesn't cost you much, and this is how you do it. You can do it through podcasting. And of course, you guys know I love the podcast, and I didn't even know what one was a few short years ago, but I like to spread my message, help other people spread their message through this exact show. So again, fire starters, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Share it with your friend. Let other people know about the show, because if we do this together, we can impact even more lives. But particularly after this lecture, two people contacted me after. One person called Alejandro, he hit me up about 3 weeks after the event and said, you know what? I've been thinking about this a long time. Your conference made me do it. I'm starting my own podcast, and I want you to be my first guest on my podcast. I was thrilled. I thought it was awesome. So Alejandro, if you're listening right now, you really have done great things. And now you're continuing to make episodes, because my episode has been out, but you've had several episodes since then. Keep up the great work. His podcast is called The Life Athletes Podcast. Way to go, Alejandro. Amy, she was another participant in the conference. She started the Poor Parenting Podcast with her husband, Ben. That's POUR Parenting Podcast. So people were inspired to create action and do some incredible things. So congrats to Alejandro and Amy for attending the conference and taking some actionable items to get things going in their own lives. I'm excited for you guys, for real. Then we talked about amplifying your voices through social media. And we had SoMeDocs founder, Dr. Donna Coriel. She came and gave us a few stories about social media and how it's changed her life, how it can change our lives, and how we can use it to spread a message collectively. And she did a wonderful job leading us down that path. And then, of course, you guys know I like to write about books. I talked about building your voice through authorship. And I actually gave you in this conference part of my book to business blueprint. This is something I actually only offer through my coaching program, my one-on-one License to Live coaching program. People were like, all right, I can write a book too. And not only that, we launched the License to Live Daily Affirmations live from the conference. And that was a lot of fun, getting a lot of engagements on social media during the official book launch. That was a great time. So after our Building Our Voices block, we went directly into the empowerment block. The empowerment block was a lot of fun. We had people, experts, specialists, physicians who were ready to help us free ourselves from some of the things that keep us locked up. We started off with Jen Miles Thomas, Dr. Jen Miles Thomas. She helped us say, look, we have to organize our finances. She talked about her own personal story of how her finances almost ruined her life. But now she helps other people get their finances in order, because a lot of times, if our finances aren't in balance, we're going to be staying stuck to a lot of different things that we don't even like, including our jobs, which often give us those golden handcuffs that we're stuck to. We can't see our way out because, well, we're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks and we need that paycheck every 2 weeks. So we have to learn strategies to free ourselves. And Dr. Jen did just that. Dr. Stephanie Freeman, she said, hey, we can have the freedom to live a locum tenens lifestyle. And she took us through that point of how she actually became a locum tenens expert. She does this not only as her career choice as an ICU physician, but it's also a lifestyle because she is in control of her life. And that's what I wanted to do in this empowerment block. Give you guys strategies to get some control in your own life so that other people don't have so much control over it. Fantastic presentation. And then Dr. Bonnie Simpson Mason, she came to the stage talking about how particularly physicians and other executives may get screwed in their contracts. They are all types of little clauses, pitfalls, perils, and nightmares that occur with these contracts. And you got to learn how to go through them. She's written books on them. She started an academy, Beyond the Exam Room Academy, to help people with this. So she came into the conference really trying to free our minds and make sure we don't get locked into something that we can't get out of. Incredibly empowering. And of course, I had a say in this empowerment block because, well, many of you know my story, maybe some of you don't, but we really got down and dirty into the details of my License to Live story. And I used that as a demonstration on how to have your own license to live and how to build your own freedom and how to do things that you never thought you would achieve. I mean, I tell you this time and time again, I never thought I'd be a #1 best-selling author or a highly requested national speaker or being featured in film. None of these things even seem possible. But when you start taking the barriers down, when you start taking these restrictions down, you can end up with incredible things happening. And then finally, we wrapped up this entire event, this entire day, with a panel discussion with Nurse Talonda Rogers, who gave us a very heartfelt story of her own personal trauma that she changed into her purpose in life. And we also had Dr. Bonzo Reddick, who is the chair of community medicine at Mercer University. And he really took us through the way he looked at his life and his career until he gained traction to do some things on a different scale that he didn't know that he could do until he actually started doing it. So he has a wonderful story as well. So we had all of these powerful speakers that really took care of these three main principles. Number one, taking care of yourself. Number two, building your voice. And number three, becoming empowered. And we did all of this. And you can check out the brochure. You can check out the program. Just go to licensetolive.com, licensetolive.com. And you will have all of that. And don't forget, if you want to see the replay, don't forget to use the coupon code podcast. That will get you $50 off. Well, folks, I have to tell you, this has been another great episode. We have some future guests that we've already been in production with these episodes. Can't wait to tell you some more.
Licensed to Live.
Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disempowered, disenfranchised at all, invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. We're even on Amazon Music right now. We're just getting into every platform so we can be wherever you like to listen to your audio content. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I continue to make this show better. I'm trying to deliver exactly what you want, exactly what you need, and I can't do that if you guys aren't helping me do so. And in between episodes, hey, I'm hanging out on LinkedIn. I'm posting a video. I'm giving a thought. Maybe you see what's going on in my blog, some articles that I'm writing. Make sure you check me out on LinkedIn. You can look me up by Jarret Patton or simply Dr. Jarret, and you will find me. Hey, and until the next time we talk, see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, No one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarret's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.